Okay, then, folks, welcome to the second question and answer session with the Political Unity for Progress candidates. So we're all standing in the local elections this Thursday, this polling day. So all looking forward to getting the votes out now and getting to the end of the campaign. Tonight really is about answering the questions that you've submitted to us through our live page, and that's live even now. So if you send the question through, we'll endeavour to answer it. I'm joined tonight. I'm Ian Geldard, and I'm joined tonight by, on the County Council candidate side of things first, we've got Stephen Jones and Neville Dart, who are both standing in the Spennymoor division. And the Town Council candidates are Emma True and Sadie Hartnett, both representing, or hoping to represent, Low Spennymoor. We've got Rachel Richards, who's standing with me to represent the Tudor ward. We've got Sarah Courtney down in Byers Green, or up in Byers Green, however you look at it geographically. And we've got Julie Wright, who's standing in the Spennymoor ward alongside Neville. Okay, so let's get straight into the questions. So the first question tonight is, how will you deal with issues of litter, fouling and fly tipping? So quite a hot topic at the minute, I think, after yesterday's fly tip that was well publicised on Facebook. Anybody want to come in first and talk a bit about litter and fly tipping? I'll jump at once. No, go on, I'll do it. I'll speak a bit about fly tipping. So it's obviously a problem. Litter, fly tipping, dog fouling. It's endemic across the town and always has been. And it's one of these things that always becomes a priority in local elections. And there's some great things you can do about it, and there's some things that we'll look to do to sort of prevent it at the source. And that's obviously things like making sure we've got enough bins around. One of the things I want to do is look, especially in the newer states, at whether or not we've got dog bins and even general litter bins in the right place to do everything we can to stop these people from littering in the first place. And the other thing is obviously engaging the neighbourhood wardens. Durham County Council run a great service, neighbourhood wardens, who are stretched in terms of their resource, but do react to people reporting litter and reporting fly tips and reporting issues of dog fouling. So we need to really up our game on how much of those things we're reporting to get people caught. It's as simple as that. And then, of course, there's the more direct action we can do. So we saw Warren yesterday, our candidate in Middleton Murray, went down and picked up a load of fly tipping himself in his own car. And it's been no big secret that that's not one of the things I've condoned anybody to ever do. But you know what? All of our candidates have their own minds. And if you want to disagree with me, then you're quite happy to do so. All I'm bothered about is obviously none of us putting ourselves at risk. And that's where my comments have come from in the past. But so yeah, there's a lot of things that we will do if we're elected and we're successful to tackle the issues. And there's a lot of things that the public can help us with, and we're really interested in working hard with you all to tackle those. Anybody else want to speak on the topic of litter? Neville?
Yes, I mean, I think you start with the young kids as well. Education is a marvellous tool. If we can get the schools and the young kids at nurseries even engaged, there's a start. Working up through the, you could go through the legal route. It probably won't do any good, but it's a fact. It is against the law to drop litter. So I would want to work with the police, and you've got to find a mutual way with the PSAOs and the police and the various people, various authorities. In terms of fly tipping, I was thinking, when Warren went off to collect his carload of somebody else's rubbish, what is it that stops them taking it to the tip? What is it that stops White Van Man, from going around collecting loads of rubbish, charging people £5 for it, and then dropping it on the roadside? I've been there, to the tip where you've got to, if you're in a van, you've certainly got to have a license. They won't allow anybody in anything other than a private vehicle to use the free facilities. Even then, it's free It just takes the bother of having to go down to Green Lane and get them to give you a license, and then you can take your stuff to the tip. I think that maybe is something I would want to look at a higher level and say, well, okay, what is it that's stopping people? Let's make it easy. Even if it's a case of, put a skip somewhere in an obvious place and just fill it with rubbish and take it away. I don't know. That's just my thoughts.
Thanks, Dave. Anybody else want to come in on that particular topic? Sarah, do you want to have a word there? I think you're still on the mute, Sarah. You just need to press your button there.
Am I on now?
You're on now, we can hear
you. What I was going to say is about the litter down buyers. That's why I thought with the youth clubs to get them to go around litter picking, but give them a reward for doing it afterwards, to give them the initiative to do it. And also I've been looking at getting some more like don't drop litter signs and things made. But I was going to have, like, say, a drawing competition for the bands to design the actual signs themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Just another initiative, then they might not want to drop litter because their signs up. Just get the bands more involved, and then hopefully they'll take care of the place.
Yeah, it's ideal to get people, invested in the cause at an early age, isn't it? Because you're right in what you're saying. If they've created the signs, or they're the ones involved in the litter picking, then they're certainly not going to be doing it themselves. And that it's a really positive way forward to teach the right and wrongs at an early age. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Rachel, did you want to come in?
Yes, of course. Following on from what Neville said, obviously, van drivers that are kind of not licensed waste carriers, they can get 5 free permits a year, I believe it is, via the mobile app. And whilst those permits are free, but 5 times a year isn't very often. So could we work with the county council to increase the amount of permits that people can have, just so that we can avoid fly tipping? Like, I know, and reduce costs for licensed waste holders to register, so that there is less fly tipping, though we can publicise where the tip is and how often it's open. I mean, living on York Hill, the tip's only down the road. It only takes 2 minutes to drive there. But I think people forget that we do have the tip in Spenny, and that you can just go in your car whenever you want to, really. It's 9 till 6 every day, so it's very freely available. And the lads down there and the ladies that work there, they're absolutely brilliant and so helpful and do a cracking job. And I think more needs to be made of that. We have this excellent free facility in Spennymoor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really good point there. One of the things that I've done in the past with my neighbourhood funding as a county councillor was put into these covert cameras, fund a series of covert cameras that we've got in the county and in the region to put in places where we know fly tipping occurs. And they catch people. And the county council have prosecuted hundreds of people since we did that a few years ago across the county, not just in Spennymoor, for fly tipping, and that's really good and positive news. Nev?
Yeah, just a comment. I was talking to a friend of mine who lives in Darlington. To use the Darlington Corporation tips, you've got to book online and make an appointment. This is just ordinary households. Book online, make an appointment, and you've got to turn up with ID and a utility bill to prove that you are a Darlington resident. So really, County Durham make it a lot easier as it is, but how much more do we need to move on that? I'm just unsure.
Yeah.
We've had recent visits to the tip and that, and it always seems that there's loads of people there at one time, you know what I mean? It's very well run and everything. So we've got to bear in mind that these might not even be Spennymoor people what's fly tipping. You know what I mean? They might be coming from other places to fly tip, because most people in Spennymoor are pretty responsible when it comes to waste and waste. Yeah. So we've got to give credit where credit's due as well. It's not all doom and gloom.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd be interested to know what the cost of clearing up the fly tips is, and how much revenue they actually make by these licenses, depending on what they actually are. Is there not time that we just scrap? you know, charging for the businesses and what have you to have a permit at the thing. If it's
Yeah.
costing us something like 200 grand a year to clean up fly tips and we're only making 100 grand from
Yeah.
the licenses, it makes sense to just get the people to drive it straight to the tip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've got to be conscious as well, though, and a lot of people won't know. This whole thing started quite a few years ago and is linked to an offset to the national insurance contributions, believe it or not. And so the money that is collected for waste disposal and landfill, that's called the landfill tax, believe it or not, actually goes towards offsetting national insurance contributions. So it's all linked to a national scheme. It's not quite as easy as making a local decision. However, you know, it needs working on.
Yeah, I think we've had quite a good discussion there on you know, on the issues of, you know, litter and fly tipping and dog fouling the same. And one of the things I always say to residents about dog fouling is that the best way to stop it is by catching the people who do it. Because, you know, Steve picked up on it, the vast majority of people are responsible, and, you know, they don't litter and they don't let the dogs foul or don't, you know, pick it up. But there are 3 or 4 dog owners in a particular area who might leave the feces on the floor, and it's those we want to catch. And, you know, it doesn't take much to catch 2 or 3, but it does take intelligence. And something we'll do going forward as the councillors is make sure that anything you tell us gets feeded into these neighbourhood wardens, and we can do the work we need to do to catch them and stop it from happening. But I think that brings us nicely on to one of the other questions tonight, which is what we would do to tackle instances of antisocial behaviour in the town. So I know some of us have already got quite a lot of thoughts on that. Rachel, did you want to start us off on the topic of antisocial behaviour?
Yes, of course. Like Neville, as people probably might guess about me, I'm a very big believer in education and educating people about why we shouldn't behave in an antisocial manner, what we can do instead to improve our town. And I think that in the past, the town council hasn't made the best use of its assets and resources, really. So myself and Neville, we're qualified education professionals. I'd quite happily go into our local schools. I'm DBS checked. I'm sure a few more people will be DBS checked. Why can't we work as a town council with our local schools, with our local police, to put together some sort of education campaign? And as Kay said, create opportunities in our town for young people. I know I'm speaking more about young people because young people is who I work with. And if you educate people at a younger age, they're less likely to behave in an antisocial manner as they get older. Why can't we have opportunities like almost as Kay suggested in the past, and almost like an apprenticeship program through the town council, doing things to keep them busy, to give them a sense of pride in our town, to give them ownership over our town, because I think a lot of young people feel disengaged from the town because there's nothing for them, they don't care about. And I think especially with COVID, that's become even more apparent because we've lost so many youth groups, we've lost so many opportunities for young people. Like all sports clubs were stopped for things. And I know that a lot of boxing clubs and boxing academies do a lot of things to help with antisocial behaviour. So that could be something we could work with as well, to tackle the root causes rather than waggling a finger and saying, oh, you shouldn't do these things. Give them the opportunities to not do these things instead of saying, what can I do about it? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. And, you know, that's a really good start at the topic here. What we need to do is we need to make sure that young people are engaged. You know, we were all young people once, and we've all got up to certain bits of mischief, and, you know, certain parts of it are harmless. But what we need to do is make sure that it doesn't cause a nuisance in the town. But one of the biggest bugbears for me is when people say there's nothing for the kids to do in Spennymoor, and, you know, I just don't think it's true. There's some great clubs out there that certainly I've always looked to support while I've been a councillor. You know, I've helped out financially through the neighbourhood funding to the boxing club, to the Thai boxing clubs in the town, the football club and the youth academy. There's so many things there, and it's not just sport. there's so many different activities that kids can get involved in and stay involved in. But what we need to do is make sure that we're doing everything we can to put the right things on for young people. Are we doing things that will actually attract young people? And the best people that tell us that are the young people themselves. And so what we need to make sure we're doing is listening to the young people. And I know a lot of you already do that in sort of your day-to-day work and what you're up to as well. So it's great to have you guys on board to really, get further with our work with young people. And the knock-on effect will be a happier and a more pleasant town. Anybody else have anything on yeah, Nev, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, again, looking at it a little bit deeper and a different angle, again, maybe from an educationalist point of view. We see a lot of young kids and young people start to go into gangs and start bullying other people and just getting generally off the rails, largely as a result of whatever's happening at home. It could be that the home life isn't that happy, that there's something going on, and that's another reason you can work with schools and other youth organisations and the county professionals. They have a list of all these kids. They know who they are, and we can engage with that. I think it's no good just saying, we need to, they need to, somebody else needs to. We all need to.
Yeah.
It's all of our problem.
Yeah. Julie?
I'd like to see some of the town council funding going towards kids accessing these clubs, because one thing that I think is probably quite valid is that a lot of them can't afford to pay for these and to go to these. I mean, you might have boxing. I don't know anything about boxing, but I don't know, I presume it's like £5 a session or something like that. If someone's really interested in it and it's going to keep kids off the street, but they can't afford the money, I think we should look at making these free, basically, for the kids. Another thing that we have, which is really popular in the town, is the skate park, and a lot of people do forget about that. Over the summer, for example, I think it would be absolutely fantastic to have 1 or 2 instructors from the local like indoor skate parks and what have you to come down, give some of their time, teach the kids in a really like chilled, not a structured lesson, but I've known when I'll go down the skate park with my 2 girls, just by sitting on the sidelines or having a go up the scooter and what have you, it's always like, oh, missus, how do you do that? Teach us. And then all the kids just want to get involved. They naturally gravitate towards an adult if you would down there. So I think that's something we need to look at, and it's outdoors, it's free, it's not going to cost a fortune to get an instructor there for the day. So yeah, but I certainly think we do need to have some sort of budget or pot of money somewhere to go towards helping the kids access these clubs or make them free for everybody. So.
Thanks, Julie.
Can I come in, Ian?
Yes, Sarah. Yeah, I know you're quite active down in Byers Green with the young people, aren't you? Can you tell us a bit about what you get up to down there?
I wanted to set up groups for all ages, but I'll just say what you're saying, there's all this stuff in Spenny, like the boxing clubs and football clubs. All of our bands have to pay to get out the village, and the bus service is not. But obviously they'll have to pay for the clubs, but then there's the travel fees on top of that as well. Yeah. I know quite a few of them go along the lines, but in the winter it's dark early, you know what I mean? It's not really practical for them to do that. So I was wanting to look at some sort of travel scheme for the bands in the village to go to things easier.
Yeah, that is a really good point.
We used to have like
yeah.
When I was a band, we'd get a pass during the summer holidays to go like to the leisure centre for clubs and things like that, and we used to get them from school. So I wouldn't mind looking at something like that again for them.
Ian, can I just jump in?
Yeah.
I was looking. I worked for about 10 years with young kids over in Blackhall and Peterlee, and people you'd set all sorts up, and they'd say, you'd ask them, well, why haven't you put your name down to do that? It's free. Oh, well, we're just from Peterlee, or we're just from Blackhall. Yeah. But one thing Blackhall and Peterlee had and still have is the East Durham Transport Association, I think it's called. They've now got 7. They had 1 or 2 minibuses, all second-hand things. Now they've got 7 minibuses, which are all bookable at massive low sort of discount rates. It's £12 a year for an organisation to join, and I think it's coppers per mile, 40 pence a mile or whatever it is, something like that. They even do. You can now join them schemes as an individual. Looking at the other end, because the question is going to be, what about the older folk? Provided you live within the catchment area, you can pay your bus fare, and they do trips up to the Metro Centre or to York, or well, they always live on the coast, obviously, but to other bits of the coast. I would really love to see a community transport scheme for Spennymoor. You say they started small. They had a couple of second-hand minibuses maintained by volunteers, a nominal fee. Now they've got 7 professionally maintained coaches.
Yeah. I mean, that sort of scheme would be great, wouldn't it? And it doesn't need to start off, as you say, as big as 7 minibuses and all of that. But let's look at the outlying villages. Let's look at Byers Green and Kirk Merrington and see whether there's something we can do to get people into the town easier.
Ian, can I just come in
Emma,
on there? Just sort of from what Rachel and Neville were saying, it's about engage. There's always a reason for a behaviour. There's always a reason why the young people present the way they do. And being in the park with our service, our mental health service, one step at a time, Tracy and I engage with the children who use the skate park, who've been to the football, and a couple of them have sort of been a little bit clever and tried to be a little bit cheeky. And as soon as we've just engaged with them, we were handing J2Os out, and then they were coming back, oh, have you got a J2O? Then they were sat on the wall talking to us, and the difference that they now come and we've got that respect already. So I think it's about just engaging with them, listening to what they want, and just engage. That's it, really.
Yeah. And I think there's a wider thing here about just getting the community closer together, isn't there? And that's regardless of age. Let's get all the age groups talking to each other and becoming a closer knit community. And I think there's definitely things we can do towards that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's about treating everybody with respect that we all expect. Well, we want to be on the town council. Town councillors, we deserve your respect. But what have we done to earn the respect of the youth of Spennymoor? What have we done to earn the respect of the older people of Spennymoor, of anybody in Spennymoor? I think we have to treat all of the people that live in the town with the respect that they deserve. And if you, as Emma does with the young people that come and speak to her, if you treat them with the respect that you treat them with, Emma, then of course they're going to engage with you. Of course they're going to reduce antisocial behaviours. It is literally all about respect and helping them to have something to do and not feel, well, I'm not part of this town, so I'm going to be antisocial.
Absolutely.
Sarah, did you want to come back in there?
I was just going to say that's why I thought I'd set up groups down here for all ages and all abilities as well.
Yeah.
Because in our work as well, there's more and more autistic bands all the time, and there's nothing for them anywhere. Like to cater to other people's needs as well.
Yeah.
But some groups I'm wanting to set up, like if we have the Astronomical Society down, then that's all ages in one group. And then we were thinking about if we do have some exercise things on, put that on for all ages as well. So you've got the little ones in with the oldies, because I think it helps bring them round and engage more anyway. Just for the whole community to get together instead of having separate age groups, and different groups for this, that, and the other. The more the better, is it not?
Yeah. You're exactly right, and I'm so excited to have you on board, Sarah, because providing you're successful, we'll have a councillor down there in Byers Green for the first time in a good number of years, who actually lives in the village, who cares deeply for what's going on down there. You day to day, living and breathing everything in Byers Green, and the focus you've got on increasing events and activities for everybody down there. It's going to make an amazing difference. It really is. Yeah, does anybody else want to talk on the topic of antisocial behaviour and that, or we move to the next question?
Can I just say though as well, if we are going to start doing environmental challenges within the town, is that not an ideal thing for the young ones to get involved with, get it on the CV, get them interested in it?
Yeah, it absolutely teach people at a young age, and climate change is a big thing, the environment's a big thing, and we need to get people from a young age, from our kids, looking at it and taking it in their stride. That kind of won't be a good thing.
If we're building something or we transforming an area, whatever, get them involved in it and it can go on the CV for colleges and jobs, apprenticeships and stuff like that. They might find the trade out of some sort of project that we run.
Yeah.
I'd be keen to get them involved in any projects that we do.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on then. I've got another question. This one's quite specific. It's with regards to maintenance fees on the town's new estates. So the resident has said, we know we're contractually obligated to pay the maintenance fee, but shouldn't we receive something in return? So this is something that comes up quite often with casework that I've had to deal with for local residents in the last few years of being a county councillor. And for those who don't live on these new estates, it's an annual fee that they pay, which basically represents the maintenance of the estate. So what developers quite often now are doing is not handing over responsibility to the county council to cut the grass and maintain the paths and empty the bins and all that sort of thing. They're keeping the responsibility themselves and charging the residents a yearly fee to do it. And some of the problems with that are that, well, the main problem is that some of that maintenance isn't getting done on some of the estates. And one of the other problems is that in the contract, it can be raised to an astronomical level if they wanted to do so. So what we really need to do, in my opinion, and what I'll be looking to do with the new estates in the Tudor division, is getting round the table with these developers and finding out exactly what they intend to do with the maintenance contract, and to sort of be a conscience for them when they're falling short of what residents should get. Rachel, I know you have similar issues down in York Hill. Can you tell us a bit about those?
Yeah, of course. I live on the York Hill estate, and I was fortunate enough to be able to buy my house down here. But we're a mix of privately owned, privately rented, buy to rent, and like council tenanted, like the old style council tenanted to a housing association, and each house pays their maintenance fee to live in. But we don't really see much benefit of it. So last year, a lot of the residents, we were complaining that the grass hadn't been done, that there was litter around, and we did try and contact Living and try and put pressure on them to improve everything, but we were told that because of COVID we can't come and cut the grass, and we were a bit annoyed with that, and that we're paying this fee and that we're getting nothing from it. So I think what you're saying, Ian, about sitting down with the developers, and in particular sitting down with Living, because they do have a lot of the housing association properties in Spennymoor, and seeing if they can actually uphold their end of the bargain, because obviously on St David's there's a lot of the bungalows Living and housing association maintained, but there's not a lot done. And I know I've seen through the winter and when it's been snowing about, paths not being gritted on areas, but do we know if those are town council responsibility, county council responsibility, or is it because there's a maintenance fee paid? And we need to consider these things and, like you said, work with the housing association, with the developers, to try and get these things fixed, because especially with bungalows that are elderly residents, if they're not gritted, it's an accident waiting to happen, and somebody could get injured. That's something really, really important. Like, I don't really care if the grass on the communal areas outside gets cut, but I do care if somebody slips on an icy path and breaks a hip. Like, that's something incredibly important that needs to be done. And if the responsibility is not clear, then we need to establish it and work with them.
I think historically what we've seen with town councillors in Spennymoor is that they have been very internal to the council. You know, we've dealt with very much just the issues that are town council issues, and then, you know, quite a few councillors shirk any other responsibility for anything else. And what I found really refreshing with you guys since you know, starting this party with you and having the discussions, is that you're really keen to get involved in things that aren't directly the responsibility of the council, but that matter to residents. And, you know, I think it's so important to have that sort of a representative in your community who's not afraid to stand up to people like developers and like housing associations and fight for residents. And I think we've definitely got that sat round the table tonight. Absolutely.
Can I chime in on that as well, Ian? Obviously, I live up on Mulberry Drive on one of the new estates that has this maintenance day, and like I've got one, like my Ben plays on the park over there. I know fine well that the bin is used as a dog fowl bin when it's not supposed to be, and it doesn't get emptied. It's a kids' play area. So I am no stranger to ringing up Greenbelt on a regular basis and hounding them until they get it done, because there's no excuse for some of it. Yes, fair enough, COVID's left a lot of people unable or unwilling to work on non-essential jobs. I totally get that. But having dog waste in a kids' play area bin is not acceptable. They did come and sort it out. And I'm more than happy to be a voice for the area to get that sorted. But also I do feel like we need to discuss things with them to have more transparency on those bills. Because at the minute, the bill that you get through, it's about 4 pages long, and you just think, wait, what am I paying that for? Like, does it really cost that much to go and cut the grass? Can I not just cut it myself? Like, but these are the things that we're going to have start having a proper chat with them about and stuff. Yeah. And I'm more than happy to be the voice, especially up here.
Yeah.
Thanks, I completely agree with Laura on the transparency point. Our bills from living for maintenance, it's one line maintenance and then the fee.
What it's for.
And we don't know what it's for. Like we've got a community notice board on the little bit of green, and the grass gets done maybe, but we don't know what it's for. We don't know why we're paying this maintenance fee. I did query it when we moved in, but they couldn't explain any further. I think that's something we need to look at, definitely, like Laura says.
You know, there's a brilliant example of a cross-cutting issue right across the town. So something that's happening to Rachel down in the Tudor ward is happening to Laura in Middleton Moor. And, you know, people have said to me over the last few weeks, Ian, why did you start a political party? Why didn't you just go forward as an independent again? You know, stand another election as an independent and work with independents. And this is why. This is because we've got a group here who can do some joined up thinking and some joined up work to help the entire town and pull in the same direction. And this is what creating a local party is all about. And I really hope you guys are all successful over the next few days, so that we can get on and get some of this work done for residents, because it can only be a positive thing.
Hope so. So
there's another spiky question that I will put to you. And it's spiky really against me as much as anything. Now we know, you know, there's nobody who's taken more flack on Facebook than I have over the last few weeks, probably in fact over the last few years. And I think this question will probably let some of you respond or answer to that. And the question is, how do we know this isn't just going to be the Ian Geldard show? Ian and 12 puppets in the PUP party. And you know what? I'm not going to answer that for you guys. So who wants to come through first?
Me.
Right, go on. We'll have Emma first. Go on, Emma. You picked up the post.
Well, I just think that we've all got our own voice and our own thoughts. And yes, we all might be a party, but I think we've got a group of people here that we are not afraid to speak. And we also are not afraid to disagree with you, Ian. We, you know, if we all agreed, then it would be pretty boring anyway. But I honestly think that we've got a great party together. And you know, I think we're going to do wonders for the town if we all get elected. You know, and I'm actually proud to be part of this party.
Thanks, Emma. Rachel, you want to come in as well?
Yeah, very much to echo what Emma says. If I don't agree with what you're saying, Ian, I'm going to tell you, and I'm pretty blunt about it. I think you probably noticed that about me already. but I stand up for what I believe in, and I stand up for the people that are living in the town, and we all have that in common. We don't care about political affiliation. We are a Spennymoor party. It's not about party politics. It's not about point scoring. It's literally about what is good for our town. It doesn't matter what party you voted for in the last general election. It doesn't matter if you voted Labour, Conservative, Lib Dem. It doesn't matter, because this is about Spennymoor. It's not about national point scoring. It's not about following a party line or a party agenda. Our party agenda is improving Spennymoor and making it better for everybody who lives here, not just the chosen few who vote for us. It's about everybody. And if we are all successful, we will work with everybody to make it better for everybody, not just for those who voted for us.
Can I just come in as well, Ian?
Yes, you can.
Just say every single one of us has got such a strong personality and strong ethics that if we don't agree with anything that you or anybody else say, we're not sorry about saying.
Can I just add, Ian, that obviously you're the forefront of our group because, you know what I mean, your vast experience is an asset to us. But the group was originally formed from an idea, maybe I can take a little bit of credit for.
Yeah.
To try and convince you to do this originally, you know what I mean? And we spent maybe over a pint or whatever to have this vision of bringing people like we've got now all together from vast experiences, different backgrounds, business, everything. And it was always a vision for the long term. I mean, this selection probably come a bit early because we've got some great candidates, but we want a bigger group. And maybe in 4 years' time, you know what I mean? We're going to have people seeing you guys and saying, look, I want to do that now. You know what I mean? These guys are pretty normal to talk to. They'll stop, they'll spend time with us from every, you know what I mean, every background, as I've mentioned. And it is to build this party, you know what I mean? But to suggest that was all just Ian, it was never ever like that. But can I just say how lucky we are to have Ian and use his experience along with Neville as well down there and Pat who's in the background with us. We've got loads of experience and we've got all the young, hungry people. You know what I mean? It's a great balance. And let's also remember Rachel was already on the council, nothing to do with the pups. Originally, she got herself there. So, you know what I mean? It's not all about Ian, it's all of us.
Yeah.
Together.
You know, I think if the case was that it really was me and 12 puppets, you know, we would have seen these sessions where I was doing all of the talking and no one else was piping up. And you know, some of you really have got to, you know, ran away with ideas. And, you know, he's take perfect example. There's my position on fly tipping yesterday. My position on fly tipping is that I don't think councillors should be going down and clearing it themselves. And I don't think that, because I think, you know, we pay people to do it at the council, and it's important that those people have gainful employment. We also get them to, you know, we get reports in about fly tipping that get monitored, and, you know, we get seats in the areas, and that's how we continue a service running and all that, tackle the issues. Warren Hodgson, he's a candidate for Middlesbrough, one of our candidates. He took it upon himself to clear the fly tip, and fine, good on him. That was his opinion, and that's what he wanted to do. You know, it wasn't a case of, well, no, Warren, I'm in charge of this party, and you will not go and tip that, get rid of that fly tipping. So, you know, perfect example there of one of our candidates doing what he wants to do for the best of his community. And if that isn't in agreement with me, then so be it. That's fine. What Steve said was a really good point. You know, it wasn't even my idea. I stood as an independent, and it was really more Steve's ideas to say, well, you know what, Ian, there's people around the town who really want to get on the council and really want to do their part, but, you know, they haven't got a clue where to start. And I know from speaking to some of you that was where you were. And all we've done here is create a group where you do that and do the best part for your residents, and I hope you get that going forward. But Sarah wants to come in next.
I was just going to say to these people who were saying with puppets, like, I never wanted to go in as a councillor. It's because I wanted to put more stuff on. So being a councillor would help us do that. So I think the people that know me know I speak my mind. And whoever thinks I'm a puppet obviously doesn't know us, because they probably wouldn't say it to me face, to be fair.
Julie?
Yeah, I just want to say about, like, I've been involved in the community type stuff for years, maybe slightly under the radar. I haven't like shown my face and what have you, but like, for example, I've been to pretty much every single PAX meeting while I've lived in the town and got involved with community things like that. This all started when I was wanting, you might have seen the post on Facebook, when I wanted to put some lights on in the park, and I asked you for some help on how to approach the town council. But it just got me thinking, you know, that I want to get further involved and do a little bit more than running on the level that I kind of was running on. I didn't quite have enough push or enough power on my own to get the things done that matter to the people in my street up on the racecourse estate and things like that. But I really, I don't know, I didn't really know how to do it, because I'm not like straight line typical councillor, and you know, I like a bit of banter and a bit of laugh more than most people probably. Yeah, so I bet when you did start this saying that you're a bit gutted that we're not all following you. You are secretly, aren't you?
No, not at all. Absolutely not. No, I wanted to bring forward people who wanted to do a good job and who didn't want to sit silent in the chamber all of the time. You know, I remember going back to from right when I started off on the council, that's what you saw with a lot of councillors around the chamber. It was people who went to the meetings every week and sat there in silence. And I thought, what on earth is the point? And what I'm really pleased of here more than anything else is that we've got a group of people who aren't afraid to speak, who aren't afraid to speak their mind, and who will stand up to me if I come over with something that they don't like. And the important thing is that, you know, we're a group of 13. I'm one vote in that 13 when we speak of something in a group. And when we're sat on a council of 22, I'm one vote in a group of 22 councillors who will all be looking at representing the entire town. And we'll work together on that no matter what. And that's why we're standing as a group, because we will work together. We'll not have the same opinions all of the time, but we'll work together for the best cause. And another thing Rachel brought up, the party political side of things. We've seen so much stick on Facebook, you know, about, let's face it, being Labour Party, being, you know, a new iteration of the Labour Party, or strange supporters of the Labour Party in some way. Yes, I was a member of the Labour Party, and so were some of the other members around here. It doesn't mean that I'm not a true independent, or whatever that means. You know, if you look at every independent candidate, and nothing against them, but if you look at every independent candidate in the county council elections, they've all been former members of political parties. Pete Malloy was in the BNP and formerly the Labour Party before that. Billy McAloon was in the Labour Party. Clive and Liz Madison were both Liberal Democrats. This isn't about party politics. This is about local issues. And, you know, all of those aforementioned people are standing for what they believe in one way or another. Just because I was formerly in the Labour Party doesn't mean I'm a Labour puppet. You know, in most cases, we're standing against them, and we're the only thing stopping the Labour Party from having walked into town council seats without any election at all. So, you know, that's my position on the party politics side of things. Laura, did you want to come in?
No, it was just I was a Green member, wasn't I?
Yeah. I'd forgotten about my own sister-in-law's former party membership. She was in the Green Party, you know, we can't all be perfect. But yeah, you know, it's not about party colours. This is not about party colours. It's not about ideology. It's not about left wing or right wing or Keir Starmer or Boris Johnson or anything like that, or Brexit. It's about doing the best thing for Spennymoor, and the group of people that we've got here in the PUP, in Political Unity for Progress, are people that are going to do their best for Spennymoor. And I think really that is the bottom line from my perspective. Guys, there's no other questions as such on the sheet now. We had a really good session there. We've had sort of 45 minutes of answering questions. I'm conscious that, you know, in a normal campaign, we'd be out there door knocking day in, day out now, and we'd be going around the states talking to people. And we know that in the current time that that's maybe not the most appropriate thing to be doing. And so I'm conscious that this is probably one of the last times you'll be able to directly address a good bulk of people who are watching tonight. So I'm quite happy to open the floor and for anybody to say anything else that they want to say, raise any other issues, or say a few words. Quite happy for that. Was everybody content?
Well, I just wanted to say that some of the other councillors, like you'll not like what I'm going to say, but some of the other people who are candidates in the area, I actually agree with quite a lot of the stuff that they say, and I think they have quite a similar ethic to us when it comes to actually giving a crap about about what actually goes on in Spennymoor, and that's what they actually care for. Like you say, it's not about anything in the past or what your thoughts were in the past. It's what you do. And I think the most popular people in Spennymoor, candidate wise, are the people that actually care. So ordinarily, right, I back them 100% as well, to be honest with you. Is I don't care who wins or whatever. Obviously I'd love to get in there, but it needs to be somebody that cares, and that's the top and bottom of it, really. And I'd love to work with somebody who's as passionate as some of them others.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, and you know we're only standing 13 candidates for 22 seats here, and even if we're all successful, there's going to be another 8 people sat around that table who come from different parties or independent or whatever, and we will welcome them with open arms, and we will work with them and listen to their views and make sure that we understand that they represent the people that have been elected for as well. So absolutely, it's not about dominance at all. It's about, this was all about creating a vehicle for you guys to do your best for Spennymoor, and we'll work with anybody else who has that same passion. Absolutely. Right, guys, thank you very much for your time tonight. I know there's a bit more campaigning to do between now and Thursday, and we will be out and about around the town. So if residents do see us out and about on the streets, then please, if you want to, stop us for a chat. We're quite willing to chat. You've got all of our contact details both on the website and on the leaflets that we put out. I've took quite a few phone calls already from people. We're all really happy to receive phone calls and talk to you about any issues going forward. And between now and polling day, if anything comes up which you want to speak to us about, please do. And hopefully we'll be successful and be able to represent you all in the polling day on Thursday. Right, thanks guys. And I'll see you on the campaign trail.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye all.